name is Matt Bird, and welcome to the PublishU podcast, where we explore the real life stories of authors from around the world. Today, I'm talking to Alexander Hoare from London in the United Kingdom, who has written a book called Impact Banker. Welcome, Alexander.
Thank you for having me along.
It's an absolute privilege. So you are part of a family, in fact, a family that owns the oldest bank in the United Kingdom. Is that right?
Yes, my great 8 times grandfather qualified as a goldsmith in 1672. And the goldsmithing businesses, lots of them around that time, morphed into banks, largely because they had safes and people could deposit safely. He had no fewer than 17 children by his wife, Susanna.
Wow.
And I am the first of the 11th generation working here of that lot.
That lot. So you're the 11th generation of the family. Wow, that is quite incredible. So tell us a little bit more about how your what was his name? Your ancestor there?
Richard Hoare, Sir Richard Hoare.
Sir Richard Hoare. So tell us a little bit more how Sir Richard got started in banking. So he was a goldsmith, so he had a safe so people could put things on deposit. How did it morph from there into what it is today?
It was a volatile time, Restoration England, and it wasn't that wise to have your wealth on your personal at home because people would steal it. So you needed to find safe deposits. And the breakthrough was not only deposit taking, but then lending stuff. And that is when banking took off. And he was a very smart guy. He was not only prime warden of the goldsmiths, he was not only an MP for London, he was also Lord Mayor of London. He was very, very distinguished man of his time, and therefore trusted.
And trust when it comes to banking is quite important, still is today.
Very much so, yes. That's one of our competitive edges.
So tell us, C. Hoare & Co., the bank that now is as a result of Sir Richard. Tell us about it for those people who don't know.
Well, it's intentionally very simple. We're a retail bank. We take deposits, we provide some payment services, and we advance credit. It's really very, very simple. And one of my mantras is KISS, keep it simple, stupid, because if you can keep something simple, you might just be able to manage it.
There we go. Very good. And give us a sense of where I know you're on Fleet Street. You know, it's one of those historic streets in London, isn't it? The building has an impressive facade. It doesn't look like a bank, but it is.
So we moved here in 1692. I think because Christopher Wren started making a hell of a racket at St. Paul's, which he was knocking up right by our shop. Our shop was then in Cheapside. And Sir Richard recorded in his diary the move was to be on the main thoroughfare between the City of London and the City of Westminster. And that was a really good call because to this day, if I go to either, I start by thinking, can I walk?
Yes.
And the building has changed a lot over the time. Obviously, it was rebuilt in 1820, and we use it much how it was then used. Although I'm now sitting in what was the mews, the stables block for the horses. And the Luftwaffe rearranged it somewhat in 1941. But yeah, the location's been good for us, and it is our advertising budget.
Absolutely, great location. And so, Alexander, you've authored a book. I mean, that's a big thing to do. When did you first think that I might want to write a book?
So the partners of the bank have delegated most operational functions, but we keep as a role for ourselves the corporate memory and transmission of it into culture. How do you manage culture? You tell stories.
Mm.
And it dawned on me, I'm 63, it dawned on me that if I retire, these stories of mine will vanish with me, so to speak. So I better tell them for the benefit only initially of the next 50 partners. We've only had 51 partners in 300 years. But anyway, having written these stories down, it dawned on me they might also be of interest to colleagues, to customers, to counterparties, and to anybody who wants to thrive without necessarily selling their soul to contemporary capitalism.
Very good. So you've written these stories to pass them on. Is there a 12th generation of Hoares? Obviously there is, but are they going to be involved in the bank?
And my cousin Amy is a 12th generation partner.
Wonderful. Okay. So there
She's
is this
busy reading the 13th.
so there's this hereditary line, but actually you capturing the stories that you've collected and passing them on to Amy and to others, is really important for maintaining and nurturing the culture.
Correct. How do you nurture culture? Well, one of the best ways is to tell stories.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what's one of the stories that you tell in the book, Alexander, and what's important about it in terms of what it passes on within the culture of the bank?
There are many, many stories in the book, which I hope your listeners will enjoy reading. They are wrapped up really by the story of David and Goliath in the Bible, where the Israelites and the Philistines wanted to settle a conflict with single combat. And then the Philistines sent out this Goliath guy, heavily armed, with a massive sword, and none of the Israelites really want to fight him. And then a little shepherd boy says, I'll do it. And people sort of think it's a bit funny, but no one else wants to fight him. So he goes in to fight, and he shifts the terms of the conflict from armor and swords to fighting how he wants to fight. And he fights with a small stone. And he destroys the Goliath. And this story has got lots of messages. So I'm not into destroying big banks, but I am trying to compete with them. And how do we compete with these big banks? Well, we change the terms of the competition. It's not execution or pricing or worldwide distribution or whatever these Goliath banks have. We compete on our terms, which is personal relationships of trust, which you mentioned earlier. And if you're a big bank with 1 million customers, there's no way you can have personal relationship with each customer. And in fact, you're busily destroying trust with each new IT system you put in. So that story is important. And building on that, really, I mentioned earlier, keep it simple. The shepherd boy didn't have tons of armor. He just had his shepherd gear. He kept it simple, and small is beautiful. He picked up a small stone and he destroyed a big Goliath. So we try to keep the bank small and simple. And in this way, we can manage it ourselves and hopefully hand it down to the 12th and 13th and future generations.
Amazing. And what a great story and a great illustration. Thank you so much. Really very, very powerful. And, the book is called Impact Banker, The Impact Banker. Why did you call it The Impact Banker?
Well, I'm not an investment banker. I'm not a private banker in the contemporary meaning of the word. I'm not really a retail banker either, because we're not dealing with the mass market. And I did a word search of one of the sort of later drafts, and I found the word impact came up more than 50 times. And and I have been an impact investor for the last 10 years, no, 20 years. So it's a play on impact investing and not being any other sort of banker.
And for you, what does impact mean, Alexander?
So all of us are given gifts and opportunities. And the question is, how do you use them? And the book is full of stories of how I've tried to not enrich myself so much, but create a better world, create good outcomes for other people.
Yes.
And my experience is if you do the right things, the money will follow afterwards. It's not about trying to sort of make a set amount of money each quarter. It's about doing the right things for people over the next 100 years.
Amazing, amazing. And so The Impact Banker. And what is one of the most moving stories that you recount within the book, Alexander? What is the most emotional story for you as you wrote it?
Oh, there were many to choose from. It turned out that the longest chapter in the book was actually on philanthropy.
Hmm.
And in there, I took some pretty stupid risks, which did change people's lives, unbelievably changed lives.
Hmm.
And the bank's got a record of this. Recently, our charitable trust, the Golden Bottle Trust, has been preparing a 40-year review. And we keep remembering more and more incidents. So there's one guy we helped, he saved 1 million lives. Amazing.
So there's this ripple effect, of how you give and how who you give to are able to give to others. Um,
Yes, and you can do it about it. It doesn't necessarily have to be huge sums. So the Gates Foundation has got huge sums, but we don't have these huge sums, so we can still have huge impact.
yeah, it comes back to the David and Goliath principle, doesn't it? Really?
Indeed, choose your terms of competition, so to speak.
Yeah.
Choose your.
Absolutely. And how does the bank choose who it gives to in that case? I mean, if you are in philanthropic terms, a David, where do you aim your giving?
There's a bit of top down and a bit of bottom up. In the top down, we have surveyed all the trustees on what areas interest them, and that eliminated some actually.
Yes.
And then there's bottom up, there's serendipitous meetings which take place in the course of our days when you just think that is a really good idea. I wanna try to push that idea.
Yeah.
And I don't think we never set out to do a lot of work with prisoners, slaves, and refugees, but that's what we're doing at the moment.
Amazing. Prisoners, slaves, and refugees. Wow. Yeah. Uh, I mean,
I think that Jesus might approve of that.
I was just about to say, it sounds quite Jesus-like, doesn't it? To hang out with people that are sometimes, by
Marginalized.
some people, looked down upon for whatever reason.
Mm.
And siding with them is always a good thing.
And you might think that some of this is pretty tangential, ancillary, or frivolous to running a bank. And in the case of many banks, it probably would be. But in the case of our bank, we set this purpose to be good bankers and good citizens. So there are plenty of good banks, there are plenty of good citizens. There aren't many being good bankers and good citizens. But this philanthropic activity is a demonstration of good citizenship.
Yeah.
And this book is my testimony to how I have tried to live our purpose.
I like that. Good banking, good citizenship, obviously through philanthropy. Can you give us another example about how those two things you've sought to integrate those two things, Alexander?
It crops up every single day. Yesterday, I met a prospective customer from a completely different walk of life, and I didn't really expect to like him, but it is quite clear to me he was a good entrepreneur, and he had come to us because he had really good instincts to do the right things.
Yes.
And so this person of completely different walk of life, and I got on like a house on fire.
Yeah. 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 So it's a kind of an openness of mind, really, to possibility.
It's a mindset, definitely. And then some years ago now, this new graduate asked to meet me. I'd never heard of her. I sat down in a room with her. She said, look, I got double first from my university. Lots of employers wanted to employ me. I decided I wanted to work for you. And so customers are doing it and staff are doing it. It's a build a better mousetrap approach to doing business.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to having a copy of the book on my coffee table here at home and showing it to my friends and my guests. It's really exciting. Alexander, in writing the book, what was the biggest obstacle that you faced that you felt you had to overcome?
The book, to a large extent, wrote itself. And actually, going back to your very first question, one of the catalysts to writing the book was our IT department thought it'd be a good idea to wipe all our files. And I thought, hang on, before you do that, there's some stuff I want to capture. But in answer to this question, what was difficult, I think, was actually thinning it out. It started off quite long and indigestible. And I had to reject lots of stories which matter to me, but might not improve the book.
That's always hard, isn't it? And I mean, I coach, hundreds of authors, and often it's not what you include, but it's what you choose to leave out that gives the book the focus. And I think a beautiful illustration, it makes the book digestible because some
Yeah.
of the things that we as authors write about aren't necessarily the things that our readers want to read about. And I think knowing the difference is one of the keys to being a great author. And I think we can describe you as a great author, Alexander.
Well,
Right.
the readers will judge that.
Yeah. Well, and for you, now this book is published worldwide, it's available. You can go and get it now, guys. I'd encourage you to. Now it's published. How does that make you feel?
Well, it's a case of one door closing and another door opening. So I've done something I wanted to do here for the bang, but the door which opens is to do some more communication, I think.
Mm,
And there are some kind of meta narratives in this book which I would like to develop, like why short-term profit maximizing is stupid, why a limited liability has been a disaster for the city of
yes.
London, why how the human is a relational animal. He's built to be in families and communities and societies. He's not built to be atomized by the big tech bros in California. There are lots of these messages to communicate.
Yeah. And it's going to be it is going to be in the book metaphor the opening of a new chapter for you.
Yes.
My last question really, Alexander, is what is your highest hope for what the book achieves out there in the world? What are you hoping that this book, now it's available, what difference do you hope it's going to make?
So one of the messages of the book is you don't have to succumb to the unacceptable face of capitalism. You can love your neighbors as yourself, or in our language, we treat others as we would wish to be treated.
Yes.
And it does work. It's a perfectly viable strategy. Very few people try it though.
Well, that's a great line to finish with. Thank you so much, Alexander. And thank you all for listening to the PublishU podcast, featuring real life stories of authors from around the world. If you're interested in becoming an author like Alexander, please do visit our website, www.publishu.com, publishu.com. And if you enjoyed this broadcast, of course, make sure you subscribe for more. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye for now.